Hi, welcome to Art of Academia, a weekly podcast featuring interviews with leading scientists and insider takes on life in academia. Hosted by Komal and Madan, researchers from Cancer Science Institute, Singapore.
Yeah, so overall I have found that Dr. Ross induces changes.
Oh, wow, okay,
we are going project.
okay, I was not ready, sure. Just hit me with the Prakadu stuff.
Yeah, I got it into repetitive RNA, etc.
Yes.
The changes that I am observing. But
Yes.
then everybody was talking about what genes are altered.
Yes.
And focused on like repetitive RNA.
Yes.
This complex I was looking at, but I've just not been able to fixate on what I want to starting some experiments. Leaving them halfway, not reaching the finish line.
Yeah.
Already there's some issue coming up, and I'm like, okay, this another beautiful, exciting thing that I can follow.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the surface of that, that's very relatable. Like, I also function very similarly like that, right? And which makes sense. Like, I don't get how more people don't have this. Like, I don't even get why this is a problem. Of course, like, you want to focus on things that likely give you good results. And when things are not going well, like, then it seems a bit pointless to see it to completion.
Yeah.
But I think I have the solution.
Oh, really? Let's
go.
go.
Really. I really.
Super excited.
I think, okay, I'm calling it indexing.
Okay.
What I mean by that is, I'll just tell you like a very experiential thing, and I'll tell you in the context of a lit review, because I think that's where I felt it the most, but it applies to other stuff. So oftentimes, I have this idea, right? Oh, maybe olives do this thing. And that's a whole thread, right? There's a few different things I can test experimentally. There's a few different papers I can read to back up or get some ideas.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm really into this right now.
Yes.
And I'm reading about it. I'm getting like a lot of ideas. This seems super fun. I try some preliminary experiments. Maybe things don't work out. And then now I'm losing interest, and there's something else that's coming up.
Yeah.
So by my default is to like drop that, right? Like just completely drop that. And I think I've tried in the past, but what I never managed to do was document what I've done, right? And document is really not a nice word, because you do that. Okay, I will, if I'm reading about it, maybe I put all of that into like one Word doc or somewhere, and that's sitting somewhere. But what is missing is, now I've forgotten about this. Months I haven't touched it, right? But for some reason I come back to it. I even forget that there's a Word document like this that exists, or even if it does, the friction to finding it is so high that I don't bother. I just basically restart the process. And this happens so many times. It's like...
Yeah, I feel you.
It's incredibly dumb. So what I basically tried for a few weeks, I think like the last 4-5 weeks, since I've been talking about this literature stuff.
Right.
The core sort of insight is to leave things in a state so that you can pick it up when you come back to it later. Okay. So before you drop it, just do some tidying up, right? So that just means that however that works for you. For me, it's like, okay, this software, if I put it in this way, I know I can search for it. But it can be anything, right? I don't think the detail matters. It's just that you are able to make it work for you, so that like when you want to find that thing back again, it's readily available. So you don't have to go through the process again.
Like in terms of the documentation, or like if you're talking about research, then the reagents and the things involved with the actual experimentation.
I guess
just the ideas.
For in this context, I'm talking more about the ideas. It's basically the work you have put in. So one good thing is, even with results, right? Sometimes I do some analysis, and then there's a figure. Now when I'm fully closed in on this idea, I have all the context, that figure is self-explanatory. I look at it and I immediately know everything it means. But if I've like lost that context, I come back to it 6-7 months later, like the intricacies are kind of lost. I see the broader point, but now it seems less exciting also. It seems almost trivial now, because I've like lost all those potentially interesting implications, which was interesting back then. Right. But of course I've like zoomed out now, and I never bother to like write it down, or like leave myself some breadcrumbs that I can continue later, right? I think that's the part that's crucial, and that's trying like kind of what
I think this is worth trying. I think because a lot of times I go back to some presentations and I just see a few things and I'm like, oh, I did this as well. Or like you're doing something and then you realize I've already like thought about these ideas.
Exactly. So step one is like forgetting you've done that in the first place. That is the worst. Happens very often. But like even when you remember you've done this, I think you can still forget why that was important. It's very, very obvious, very salient for reading. Because when I'm reading a paper, I get all these ideas, and usually I dump it and I never revisit them. Maybe I export like one or two things from that paper, but there are many times I have to come back to that paper, right? I'm almost never looking at my notes. I restart from the paper. But I think just because now I've spent some effort to tidy it up, I'm more excited to see that. So now I come back to my notes first before I look at the paper, and that's just so much easier to.
That has already given you the main points and like the ideas that you were building already.
Exactly.
And then you can go into the details.
Yeah, it makes it easier to revisit the paper having that notes because I've like already done one first pass through it, right? If I don't keep it, I'm basically like losing that. So that has been game changing. It's kind of stupid. Like it sounds so simple when you
it sounds very basic, of course, but
it makes a big difference.
Yeah, but a lot of things are like that. If you try, you don't know how amazingly it can work.
Yeah, but yeah, indexing with research, but I think also other parts of life, right?
Because even apart from research, I start thinking about small things I want to do, like for future or even like in the present time. But then you forget about it. Like for example, during my trip itself, when I started, I thought about several like small blogs I want to write, like not travel related, but just like a few things that happened or like just some ideas I got. I finished my PhD and I was in that zone, but then as time passed, I did other things and then I just lost track of it.
Yes.
And there were like good 5 interest. Like I was very excited. Like during my bus travels and all, I was like thinking about it and
you even took notes.
Like small bits for a few of them.
Yeah.
But then just making it like more organized and like just really putting some more effort into it. Like this is the thing that I want to do and help.
Yeah. This is a smaller point, but one thing that helps is, at least that's what got me started, is having everything in one place. Because usually there's like 5 different notes apps. I have 2-3 notebooks lying randomly. And if it's just random notes, that's fine. But if it's something I want to get back to, I think now I make sure to put it in one place. So that now it's like a huge database. It has like so many entries, but I know what I want to find is there. I can just Control F and find it. So I think that helps a lot, knowing that it's findable. So that was indexing. The second thing, which is related, what was the word I used? I think I said rediscovery. Rediscovery. Yeah. It's a very similar concept, but I think I meant it more not about the things you do, but I guess the sort of the broader themes that you are interested in. Okay, there was this tweet that I read. Somebody was basically sort of flaming someone else, and the tweet read, "You're like a bizarre combination of industrious and time wasting," right? And the context is, this guy, what he did was he looked at all the mobile game ads that show up on his Twitter feed, because there's a lot of mobile game ads. And then he installed all of them. He played all of them one by one, and then he wrote like a mini review of how good each one is. It's not his main job. His main job, he writes essays.
Is it the same guy?
It's the same guy. He did that. And then someone else posted, right, saying that you're such a bizarre combination of industries and time wasting. And actually, that's the end of the story. There is no like broad comeback story to why this was useful to him. I think up to 99.99% of people, they would consider that time wasting. But I think there is like really something to that, where when he didn't take offense to the comment, right? He wholeheartedly accepts it. But the thing is, he doesn't think of it as time wasting. So I think that's the key thing. Like if you care about something, just do that. Like even if that seems like time wasting, that seems like it's not gonna get you like lead to something.
Right.
I think you should still do it.
I think we have discussed this.
We've discussed this, right? I think I've called it different things. It's a bit like double down on your quirks or whatever. But basically, the idea is like, if something is like consistently motivating you, don't ask for permission to do it. Just do that. And for me, that was a few different things. But one of the things was basically this project of like trying to put all my notes into one place. I'm like, it's so easy to like throw yourself off it, right? It's like, oh, you're procrastinating instead of doing your actual research. You're just like sitting and doing this thing. If you talk to other people, it's very hard to even defend that. Even if it doesn't lead to anything, it's worth trying if it's something that's like persistently motivating you. Like, of course, like there are cases when it was clearly procrastination. So, for example, I remember in my undergraduate exam, I decided I'm going to sit and organize all my music into like a folder, right? So it had to be like the folder has to have the album name, and it has to have a picture of the song, right? So it shows up in your gallery, all this. And I did that exactly the 2 days before the exam. After the exam, I never touched it, right? So that was very clearly procrastination. But this thing, I've been talking about this for like, I don't know how long, probably months.
Right, why was it called Rediscovery?
The way I thought about it originally is like, because at least for the notes thing and a few other things, I wanted to do it, but the reason I wasn't doing it is in some ways because, this is not really a good use of my time. I don't think this is going to lead anywhere. And also like a bit from talking to other people about it and their feedback being like, come on, I think you're just like avoiding the main problem, which is like to do the actual work, right? Kind of never got to it, but one day I just got like sick of constantly having this urge to like deal with it, and then I just sat down, spent a day, did it, and then it felt good. So to me that felt like, okay, there was a part of you that you sort of lost because of how you interface with the world, right? You have to do some error correction, but then sometimes you have to like throw out that error correction into the garbage and then go back to what was your initial thing.
Very good.
That is Rediscovery. And okay, so Mastery also very similar. So related to Rediscovery, another reason why I called it that was last weekend, and even a couple of weeks before that, I was craving something new. Like I was like, I should start something new, start a new hobby. And I tried a few things. I tried like getting into drawing. I tried a few other things. Tried building like a random 3D model, something that was lying around in the house. That was good fun. I still like the building one. So I ended up buying a jigsaw puzzle, doing that with Rachel. Okay, anyway, so basically tried a few other things, right? And nothing was sticking. And I thought like that's a sort of a reminder again to go back to the things I've already started, right? So for example, the blog thing. I was so excited for that. Started it, completely dropped it. I think it's okay to stop, really. I think it's 100% okay to stop. But basically should also be okay with like going back to them. I think even when the novelty has like worn off, because there are a few things that I have done like that. Like I've quit for a long time, but I have gone back to it and I enjoyed it a lot, right? And I just felt like, okay, I should do that more. There are so many things that you were excited for, you started, but you've like abandoned them. So why not like just take the opportunity to like go back to them? Because I think like while novelty is fun, it's not the only way to like get some satisfaction out of doing a thing, right? I think we talked about this.
We have talked about this.
So there's like, I can think of so many examples. There's a video game, 100% novelty gone because I've like explored every single aspect of it. But what keeps me hooked to it is like whenever it's a competitive one, right? So but whenever I play, it's like 8 people in a lobby. I reliably finish in top 3, right? Because so it feels like, I know this game, I'm good at it. I think that's part of it. So I feel like you should rope that into the things you do. So basically care more for mastery or like expertise and not just look for novelty all the time.
Yes, it has to be a good balance between